So we're just making roasted butternut squash today. Oh, with leftover sweet potatoes. So it'll be roasted butternut squash with sweet potatoes. So you peel the butternut squash, you cut both ends off, cut it. It's a bit hard, so be careful. Then you start to peel it. And then I will be back once we peel it. All right, and then you're gonna cut it in half, just right down the middle, long ways. And you got your seeds. Smells just like pumpkin. Okay. Then you're gonna gut it out with a spoon, just like a pumpkin. Just clean it all out. We'll be back with that. So that is it gutted. It smells and feels just like a pumpkin. So, you know, if you don't want to cover pumpkin, just go ahead and cut you a squatter nut bosh. Friends reference. Don't know if you get it. And my mom had gave me these like what? I want to say 4 months, but I'm really not sure. She gave these to us 4 months ago, and they were perfectly fine. They weren't rotting. They weren't, you know, a little bit on one of them, right, just like right here at the edge. It was like getting soft, and that was it. And it was still good. So if you want a vegetable that'll last a while, they last longer than potatoes. You know, it's a squash, so I think that's why. I'm not sure. We didn't put it in the fridge. We just left it out, and we didn't even wash them when we got them. They still had dirt on them. So now we're going to cut it up into little 1-inch-ish type cubes. Not like super big, but not super small either. Just, you know, whatever you feel like. We're going to do the same thing with the sweet potato. We're going to peel it and cut it, and then it's all going to get mixed in together. I like to cut it like this because it's like it has a little neck. I like to cut it down. Oops, sorry. I like to cut it down. And then go ahead and cut that and like that and then like that. Boom. And then I can cut this normally because, you know, it's not the same size. So that's just how I do it. Just like that. Alright, and we got it all sliced up long ways. And then we're going to chop it up sideways, I guess. Alright, we got them nice and diced up. And I've just been putting them in here for now. And that took a while. I didn't want the oven to be on. So now I'm going to turn the oven on right now. You set the oven to 375. It is at 100 right now. Always make sure there's nothing in the oven. You know what's missing, so I keep shit in the oven all the goddamn time. Okay. Alright, always cut the ends off of the mushroom. Of the sweet potato. Always cut the ends off. Just so it'll be way easier to cut, because then it'll be like a big old knot at the end where you're trying to cut it. And we're about to peel them. Okay, I kind of skipped a step, but I cut the sweet potatoes straight in half. It's easier when the potatoes are like this size, like really small. The bigger they are, it's going to be super hard. So cut in half, and then I sliced it up this way. Same way, long ways. And then cut this way. And then I want to cut it this way. Same size about everything else you see here. About that size. Alright, for the oil, I will be using avocado oil. You can use olive or coconut. I ran out of coconut, so I have avocado. But coconut is usually my go-to just because it is a little bit cheaper because you can get in a big old tub. So, avocado oil, turmeric, smoked paprika. I think smoked paprika is better. It just has like that smoky flavor. Just a lot more flavors than just regular paprika. Garlic, ancho chili powder for just a little... it has a little spice and a little taste in it, and a little bit of salt. Right now, need to get more, but some salt. So get you a pan. Doesn't really matter what size, you know, just depending on how much you want to make. I have about 2 to 3 pounds of butternut squash, and a little bit of sweet potatoes. So this should be enough. Even if they're on top of each other, I think it'll be okay. And I use parchment paper. I like it better than foil because it won't stick to the foil, and I won't have pieces of foil in my mouth when I eat it. So the paper, I feel like, is just a lot. It's done. Paper is way better for me, just to cook with it. So I'm gonna line that with that. I have seen certain people to put oil at the bottom of the pan so the parchment paper will stick, but once you put your vegetables in here, it'll all sink down. So I don't do that. And then hopefully I won't have to clean this as much, the pan. I can just throw this away. Then less clean them. You know, that's always better. All right, now just put the rest. Like I said, if it's overlapping, it will be okay. It all is going to get a little roasty toasty. And now we're going to put the oil on top and paprika and everything, then mix it all together. That should go in the oven. And I will tell you all the measurements whenever I get all the measurements down. Make sure it's as flat as you can. I think that would be good. That looks good. Can I eat it now? We got our avocado oil, and you're going to put 2 teaspoons. I feel like a bit more than the recipe I called for. So I'm just going to guesstimate. And then we mix it. My hands are clean. And it's just me and Timothy. Yeah, the recipe says 2 tablespoons. I put probably just a little bit more, maybe no, definitely not less. Oh yeah, this is perfect. I think for how much I had, 2 tablespoons would have been a little not enough. I just like to get it all in oil, especially when it's avocado oil. I like to just put it all up in there because it's good for you. And it has a high smoking point. I think it goes like to 400, and so that makes it just a lot safer for you. That's why it's so expensive, because it's better. They do less to it. There's all like the other vegetable oil. They do a lot of stuff to it, and it has a low smoky point, and then it just starts to like turn from there. I think even on the bottles it'll say cook at low heat, and no one cooks at low heat with all that vegetable oil. Okay, so it's all mixed in. I'm gonna wash my hands, and then I will put the spices in. Right, there is 1, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika or regular paprika. Either one, doesn't matter. This has a little bit more flavor. You can even smell, it just smells more flavorful, so it's my favorite. Right, and then it is going to be half a teaspoon of turmeric. Turmeric is good for color, like make it look like yellowy, but I'm pretty sure it's also for taste in this recipe. And it's also a good anti-inflammatory spice, so it helps with that. So always love the turmeric. And because I am me, I did a whole teaspoon of garlic, but the recipe calls for half a teaspoon of garlic and just a pinch of salt. We got our salt in there, and I am just gonna do my own thing here and put a teaspoon of ancho chili powder. Let's give it a good taste. There's that. Okay, so it's gonna be 2 teaspoons of paprika, half a teaspoon of turmeric, and half a teaspoon of garlic, and a pinch of salt, and I added a teaspoon of ancho chili powder. And I always put my spices in a bowl just so they can get all mixed up evenly here, and then put on here, and then so there's not like a bunch of paprika here and a bunch of like salt here. So I like to get it all incorporated. Monsters Incorporated. I think the smoked paprika really set it off. It's so good. It smells delicious. And don't come for me for my little, my little sounds for my little sayings I be saying. Don't come for me from Monsters Incorporated, okay? If you don't know about that life, then get out of mine. Okay, hello. See, shit like that. Don't come for me. Alright, so I'll put a little bit, mix it in, and then put the rest. Alright, as I mixed that little first batch I realized that, like I said, I put way more than the recipe said of these butternut squash. So I'll just add a little bit more of everything, just like a little dash. The longer you do this, the more you'll be like, oh, guesstimate, I guess. Guesstimate, I guess. Alrighty. So. I watched the Addams Family movie, and I put the lime in the coconut and mix it all up, or drink it all up. But I said mix it all up, and now that's stuck in my head, and I'm not gonna sing it out loud because that's embarrassing. Alright, so that's really good. And then you can put ketchup on, like when it's done, add ketchup, or like, I don't know, hot sauce, I guess. Guess whatever floats your boat, whatever tickles your fancy. Alright, oh yeah, that looks good. So yeah, so I'm gonna add a little bit more because you can tell like all of it's more coated. Like, just looks better. Alrighty, and don't forget the garlic powder. Garlic powder is essential. Not like me, not an essential worker. Okay. See, don't come for me or my shit. Okay. All right, and now it's ready to go in the oven. All right, always open the oven for a couple seconds before you put your stuff in, because I always get a heat slap when I open it up. I always put it on the top rack. I really don't know why, but I always do. And you cook that for about 35-ish minutes or until it's soft. Right, and this is nowhere on the recipe. It's just what I want to eat with it. You can eat like, I don't know, I guess chips or rice. You can even like stir fry some mushrooms and put it on the side. You can season up the mushrooms. But today we are just doing tofu. This is the extra firm. We just put it in, I guess a medium-sized pot. I drain it, cut it into little squares, and I deep fry it. Just put oil, make sure the oil covers it all, and fry it up. But I will show that one after this drains. Alright, so we got our tofu, drained it for a little bit. Some people like to press it. I do that whenever, you know, I'm preparing for it. But I cut it in half, and then I cut it in little bitty squares like this, just so it can all fit and easier to flip. And I don't have that much oil. I would have used more, but like I said, I usually use coconut. All I have is this. I don't want to use it all before I go to the store, just in case I need it like for breakfast or something. So while that heats up, we're gonna check on the butternut squash. You hear it sizzling. Definitely needs to go a little bit longer. And give it a stir. After it's been in for maybe 20 minutes, give it a stir, and then just test it with the fork and see if you like it. Don't step away from the oil like I did. Whew, okay, I'm letting it cool down before I put the tofu, because I put the tofu in, it's going to be popping like crazy. I had it like really high. I had like on almost like 6, maybe 7. So, definitely not that. I thought I turned it down before I left, but I didn't. So, but it's all good, because put it back on medium, let it cool down, then I'll put this back. And sorry it's so loud. Obviously you can see it's smoking. Alright, we got the tofu in there. It cooled down. You can see it's not sizzling. It would have been like popping up. So, got the tofu in there. Like I said, coconut oil I usually use, but this is what I had, and it's still okay. Not going to change the flavor that much. A lot of people think coconut oil makes everything sweet, but I never had that problem, just because, like, you saw all the seasoning that I put in there. You know, so all that makes it better. And a little sweet never hurt nobody, you know, like, they put sweet in a lot of stuff, so. Alrighty, and that just takes, I don't make it extra crispy. I will show you what it looks like. I don't like it too hard. And it's time to check on the butternut squash. It looks good. I think it needs to go a little bit more, but definitely gonna mix it one more time. But I think it needs to go for like another about maybe 8 to 10 minutes. Oh man, I wish you could smell that. That just smells so delicious. And I didn't put a pinch of salt. I put about 3 pinches, just because I like mine a little more salty. And like I said, I did have a little bit more squash to the recipe, and it didn't call for it. So I just, you know, I follow the recipe and then add a little bit of my spicy take, the zestiness to it. But yeah, that, like I said, it doesn't take too long, especially how I cook it. It gets like this over easy egg texture, the tofu does. It's not crispy though, because it's just like super hard and it's too dry. When it's soft, it tastes way better. And if you're too hungry and can't wait, a nanner is always good. These are the best bananas with the freckles. There's one, let's see, you see that? If it looks like that, see how it's not freckly, it's just like, it's bruised. These are not bruises, these are freckles, and this is when they are the sweetest. They have less carbs, and they will not make you constipated, and you will have a nice poo-poo, just so you know. Yes, these aren't organic. I didn't buy these, but I usually buy organic, because you see how it's green at the top and then not down here and a little bit right there. That means they sprayed the bananas with something, so they couldn't ripen like correctly. So these don't taste as creamy or as sweet as organic, but you know, this is just, you know, what you got. It's still good, you know. It's fruit, you know. And yes, if it don't look like this, don't eat it, because then you'll become constipated and it'll have like no sweetness and it tastes slimy. This is the way to go. Alrighty. So this is my favorite texture just because it's super soft and super spongy still. It's just a little bit of oil, will be alright. And you see basically just like this brown stuff right there. That's what I like. It's, you know, really good. And then you can put salt on it, or eat it with soy sauce. Whatever floats your boat. There it is again. And I put more in the pot. And because you are the cook, you get to have a little snack and taste it, see how it is. And I put a little ketchup on it just because that's what we're going to eat the potatoes with. But later I'll probably just put some soy sauce or something. Coconut aminos. But it's really good, really soft, how I like it. So good. Alright, and here is the finished product. Like I said, the tofu is not crispy. It's very spongy, has a little crispiness. That is ketchup in there, and the recipe doesn't call to eat it with tofu, but I just like to eat it with tofu or rice, like I said, or mushrooms. We are eating it with seaweed and tofu, so deliciousness. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. I don't have a name yet. We'll figure that out later. Goodbye. Why does it sound like voicemail?